Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks, where we meet with the top thought leaders and strategists in emerging technologies, digital assets, regulatory landscape, and capital markets. My name is Jill Malandrino, and joining me for this segment at the desk on the Nasdaq market site, we have Dr. Merav Ozair, global leading emerging technologies expert, Markus Franke, CEO of Mento Labs, and Wes Kaplan, CEO of GNOT. We're here to discuss building secure digital asset ecosystems and core risk management areas. It's great to have all of you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks. Merav, you're on with me frequently, and that's one thing that we discuss nearly at every segment. Everything is data. All data is digital. And we have to think with a privacy and cyber mindset.
Exactly. It's everything. I mean, today, your identity, who you are, is all digital. I mean, it's a digital identity. No one uses any paper or anywhere. So, and it's all somewhere, stored somewhere, in some cloud. Usually, I mean, you do have it on-premise also, but most of it is digital. It's always, and the question is like, okay, how do I secure this information? I mean, my private information, my organization information, my transaction information. All transactions are digital today. I mean, I don't see people going, to using any kind of like personal, everything. So it's all the information that you're doing, whether it's your transactions, your financial information, your health information, everything that you do is as an organization, as an individual. So you have to think about the privacy and the security as a person, and also as an organization.
Right, and Markus, this is why it's not just about the hackers. One of the bigger threats is the infrastructure. If it's not built with a secure mindset, it's not going to work at every level.
Absolutely, and as you said, everything is becoming digital. Now even money is becoming digital, and therefore infrastructure really is key in all of this. Infrastructure needs to be robust, and I think here Web3 technology, for example, that brings money on-chain and that makes money digital is such a beautiful infrastructure because it can be open source, it can be battle tested. We have more and more secure networks. We have the Ethereum ecosystem with Ethereum security and finality. We have ecosystems like Celo. We have projects like Mento that build secure infrastructure for FX trading. I think that's the beauty here. Everything is becoming digital, but the technology is also becoming more and more modular. Transactions become traceable. And therefore, when you build robust infrastructure, then this is actually, I think, a good shift.
So Wes, with that, with everything becoming more digitized and the attack surface expanding, if you stay static with the defenses already in place, you're going to lose some competitive advantage there.
Absolutely. Cybersecurity needs to be top of mind. And right now, we're seeing an increase in physical, digital, different types of phishing attempts and hijacking attempts, and right now, if you're not thinking security first, multi-factor authentication, you're not thinking correctly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the problem is that there's kind of like a race, a war between the criminals and the defenders. So it's like an offense defense that you always have to be. All the technology is advancing, like especially with the AI and Gen AI, and the criminals are getting more sophisticated because it's easier for them to do all this phishing attack, and even the factor authentication is not that safe anymore. I mean, we've seen things that happen like with Coinbase, that they had some vulnerabilities. So nothing is safe. And because everything they can find any vulnerability even in real time, and they taking advantage of that. So the organizations always have to be on the defense, but sometimes but I do know that especially financial institutions now think being like even on the offense rather than on the defense. For example, there's an Australian bank, I think they're called Commonwealth. So they bank. I mean, they decreased the fraud attacks by I don't know 70% or something, and now they're using Gen AI, to they create like an app that you can upload these messages for the authentication code to the app to make sure and that app that's using Gen AI, making sure that it's not fabricated and everything before the transaction goes through. So they are trying to be on the So it's always like,
It's almost like a game of 4D chess.
Exactly.
And Markus, this is what we're seeing in terms of continuous compliance, as an example, with agentic AI, where it's not operating in a silo across business units, but it's a bird's eye view, and it's continuous compliance, which is one way that that technology is being leveraged for the good guys, if you will.
Yes, and I think the nice thing now is we see more and more institutions actually coming into this market. We now have actually also just now having the regulatory frameworks that institutions can engage in this market. Here in the US with Genius Act, in Europe with MiCAR. And now that we have the institutions, now that AI is becoming more powerful, leveraging this data, I think now the institutions can actually become or go more in the offense and defend basically also their business, because they're now actually officially allowed to engage in that business and in that area.
Is identity still an area of concern? What's being done to mitigate?
Absolutely. So there's been so much spoofing as it relates to identity and identity fraud. There's been a lot of efforts to mitigate this. One effort that we're seeing is multi-factor authentication via biometric security, right? So using something like a finger vein or fingerprint in conjunction with a secure passcode, and not having a single point of failure. By having a single point of failure, we're seeing that things like recovery phrases and whatnot are sought after items that frankly put the users at risk.
But the biometric information has the privacy, issues.
Yeah.
But this is why you're building cybersecurity first, because
Exactly.
the product development, that's the cool, sexy part.
Yeah.
But understanding, the privacy, the cyber, the compliance implications are a key part of that model as well.
Right.
Oh my gosh, we've put a decade of work into this technology, making sure that when we encrypt something, it's locally encrypted, and that we're using, frankly, AI to fight threats and actors of AI, right? We have something called our P2N2 AI engine, which uses different forms of biometrics combined to prove you are who you say you are. And it's so important in today's society.
And this information is probably, encrypted and, using probably zero knowledge proof or something like that.
Without doubt.
and all of those, other, defense, security aspect, just not just, creating this product for, different way to identify, but also securing that information.
It's all
so it's
about
like
secure access.
exactly from the entire product and securing the product. So
well, Markus, that goes back to your point with proactive incident response planning.
Right.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of this industry and of the whole Web3 space. There is now zero knowledge proof technology out there. There are projects like, for example, Self that only allow you to prove or verify what you want to show, what you want to reveal, and with the rest you keep privacy. So I think that's the beauty here, that now we have to think about many different layers in terms of security and cybersecurity. We have to think about security on the base level, on the infrastructure level, for example, on the blockchain level, that the smart contracts are secure, that the chain itself is secure, and they become more and more battle proven. We have on top, we have to think about all the infrastructure that sits on top, that this is secure. For example, with Mento, that the FX part is secure. We have to think about the wallets itself, that the user data can be secure. But all of this is modular, and all of these different modules, we see fast advancements in technology.
I think this is the cybersecurity is where blockchain and AI can help each other. It's like they are, the encryption, the transparency, traceability that you have, the mutability that you have on chain, that you that all transaction, can be traced. This is part of the security aspect of it. And sometimes you have the AI, that can run all kinds of other, detections and predictions and things like that. So this kind of integration of these two technologies for the holistic system for cyber, I think you have to think about how you can utilize both of them and integrate them together. And I think, you're doing the same, both of you, from what I'm hearing.
So, and making sure that it's upgradable and adaptable, just like you would assume for any, physical infrastructure. This is just the software side of it.
Yeah, so GNOT's hardware, the GNOT wallet, which is coming out in early December, right in time for Christmas time, we'll have software updates and abilities to upgrade the infrastructure that we have, as well as the key to it is really the finger vein reader and the ability to read your pulse and heartbeat, which is unique to yourself, and confirms you are who you say you are.
Yeah. What are some areas or challenges specific in the FX space?
So FX is the largest market in the world. Bank for International Settlements estimates $7.5 trillion trading volume every day. So it's a huge market, and for sure a part of this market will come on chain at some point.
I think all of it eventually.
Eventually, all
that's
of it
my
will
prediction.
come on chain. We see an explosion in stablecoins already, not only dollar-based stablecoins, but also different currencies coming on chain. So as soon as this happens, more currencies coming on chain, you can do all of your FX business on chain. You can swap between different currencies. Already today on Mento, we're driving hundreds of millions of volume every day. So this is just the start that basically we see this market coming on chain. And here it becomes, I think, really, really interesting, because all of a sudden with this technology, transactions become traceable, transactions can be international, this infrastructure is international, transactions also work 24/7, and I think this is the beauty here. Even, I mentioned it's the largest market in the world.
Yeah, it is.
But in legacy infrastructure, it is not 24/7. You cannot trade currencies on weekends, for example, and with Web3, with this technology, it becomes more accessible, it becomes 24/7.
It's literally 24/7. I mean,
And that sounds like where the liquidity is going. So it's going to be
I think
a
whether
natural transition. You're going to have to.
Yeah, I think whether it's going to be CBDC. I mean, I know that some countries are thinking about that. The euro is much more, thinking, diligently about that. The US not so much. The UK is kind of like on the fence. Yes, no. They're kind of going back and forth. But I think either it's going to be this or it's going to be stablecoins. Either way, it's going to be on chain.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're seeing it with real world assets and tokenization of stocks.
Exactly.
It's been more than evident now that things are moving on chain and modernizing, if you will.
Right. So you have to think about the cybersecurity on chain. I mean, what can we do and how that's going to transition? Because, I mean, the security off chain is different, but there's always going to be a combination. There's still going to be those that are on chain and off chain, and the integration of them, and the bridges, which is also, a place, where hackers, can find, a way to find vulnerabilities. So this
happened in the past.
happened and still happening.
Yes.
So there's always, this constant, thinking about from a cybersecurity, whether to use the blockchain technology and the AI technology, and now I hear that also quantum technology can be used, from different perspective, also to help the IT security. So there are.
I think that's part of the challenge, though, is that it's moving rapidly.
Yes.
Whether it's a regulator keeping up, or the cyber security and risk modeling side of it, and the product development side, it's challenging.
Absolutely, it's moving rapidly, and we're just at the beginning of all of this. But the beauty now is we actually now have infrastructure that works globally. So solving these security issues are also then global solutions. Of course, there wouldn't be a global regulation for this, but basically on the security side of things, you can build for global secure solutions, because now you can, in the same time where you settle a euro to dollar trade, you can settle a Kenyan shilling to Ghanaian cedi trade on the same infrastructure. It settles within a second on chain. It is traceable, and it always, no matter in which country you are, it settles on the same infrastructure. This means that security challenge both becomes global, but it's also globally solvable, which is nice because we actually can build tools that work everywhere. And legacy infrastructure, that was very different.
Yeah, but sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But you still have to, I think there's still going to be some legacy, platform.
Right, this isn't something that's happening next year. And then we have to figure out, to your point, who's responsible for what, who's regulating what. The fact of the matter is, it's not going to be a blanket regulation. That just won't happen for a number of fundamental reasons. So I think, as with anything else, it's the regulatory side and the framework that could hold things up. And that's the inflection point we're at here, Wes, is how do you do this in a world where Moore's law is just exponential at this point?
Well, if you're not paying attention and if you're not getting involved, you're going to get left behind, right? So you need to work with the regulators, you need to work with the industry, and we're actually seeing some of that play out now in real time as things such as the Stablecoin Act were just passed. Now you can invest in IRAs, and so we're seeing the convergence happen in real time, and we really need to be present and work with the community rather than siloed in order to advance the future.
And that's why I think building with a cyber first mindset, at least you're half the battle there.
It's so important. Foundationally, if you're not building with a cyber mindset, if you're not building in a way that protects your users, you're doing a disservice to the community. And that's who you build it for, right? You build it for the people. And so you have to think security first. You have to. Every day we're seeing a new article about a security incident, and these things are preventable if we adjust and adapt with the times.
Yeah. And I think cybersecurity and any security, and the thing about security first, has nothing to do with the regulation. I mean, every organization will have to make sure that everything is secure, and this is their assets. I mean, their information, that's, everything is there. As a user, you care about, these are your assets. I mean, whether they're to identity or financial assets, it's all digital. So security has nothing to do with regulation. It's something like sometimes maybe even personal, that of course, as an organization.
Really been talking about security first,
yeah.
At least in the digital asset space, right?
Yeah.
Now it's becoming a larger conversation that we've been developing for nearly 15 years at this point, right? So to your point, Merav, it is a competitive advantage to have a rock solid cybersecurity plan in place, but there's been a lot of development where that hasn't taken place yet.
Yeah, but now I think that it's, especially with what's happening with AI, everyone now is thinking about that.
Right.
I mean, there's no one that, no organization, small or large, that I'm talking with, if they're not mentioning, but the safety, about the security, about the privacy. Now it's like everyone is talking about it. Maybe in the past, only like, the most advanced, organizations will think about security and especially the financial institutions. But now it's like everyone. I mean, because they understand that they have to keep up with the technology. From yes, it's helping, but it also, can be very, dangerous in terms of, your security.
Well, Markus, data is the commodity, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
it becomes more and more the commodity. Now actually it is data is digital, money becomes digital, money in some way is also technology, is data, can be shared globally, and therefore now the whole security aspect becomes even more crucial. But especially in financial systems, it was always the same. I mean, I'm from Germany. Like one of the biggest security scandals or also fraud scandals there was Wirecard. It didn't have anything to do with digital assets. It was actually legacy infrastructure where a scandal also happened. So it's not that basically this industry, Web3 industry, is bringing more risks. It's actually trying to solve them now that, for example, regulation starts to advance as well. I think there's the chance now that we actually bring in institutions that
I mean, if it's just part of your culture and your mindset and how you're structuring the company, it shouldn't have to be like an afterthought.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Merav, you and I have discussed this as well. We have like another minute and a half here, but the ethical and responsible use, it always comes back to that as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, going back to data. I mean, data, whether it's, the user's data, whether it's the organization data, you have to think about ethically how you're using it.
Right.
And it's an issue. I mean, I think that, when you're talking about security, no one is talking about the ethical issue.
Right.
It's like kind of like an afterthought in many cases, but there are incidents, whether it's fairness and bias and misuse of information, and so this has not been incorporated fully, I think, in the systems when you think about the cyber safety. And I think this is missing.
Right. Well, the good point is we are at an inflection point in having this dialogue, which is the whole point of it. Appreciate everyone's insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me from MarketSite. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.